All right, good morning. We are doing lesson 3. Lesson 3 and 4 are really closely related because we're still focusing on the trig functions, which is why I still have your reminder up here of SOHCAHTOA. But this time, they're going to allow you to, where they're going to ask you to solve for a missing angle. So we're going to be using our trig functions on the calculator. If you look at your calculator right now, right above the parentheses, you see the functions for sine, cosine, and tangent. But if you look right above those in blue, you see the sine with the little -1, the cosine with the little -1, and the tangent with the little -1. Those are the functions that we're going to be using today, and we always use the ones that have the little -1. They're called the inverse functions. We use them when we're solving for the angle. So what we're doing today is going to be very similar to what you've already did in the last class. They're going to give you a shape, a right triangle. They're going to give you the measurement of 2 of the sides of the triangle. And in this case, they're not going to tell you what theta is. Remember, theta is the unknown angle. So your goal today is to set up the ratios like we did last time, but we're going to be solving for x, which in this case is the angle. So we're going to be solving for theta. The goal for you today is to be able to find the measurements of the angle that you're standing at. So you see in my first example, we have the little stick man who's standing at the angle x. Remember, in trig, we refer to the unknown angle as theta. Okay, so we're going to go through the same steps we did when we learned how to set up our trig ratios. It's just going to require us to do one extra step in order to solve for the angles. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is, since we already have our stick man in the picture, we want to identify what are the sides. What is my hypotenuse? Which side represents the hypotenuse? Which side is opposite? And which side is adjacent? So remember, the hypotenuse is always the side that is across from your right angle or the diagonal side. So this is going to be my hypotenuse. So I'm going to put an H on this side. Now, looking from the perspective of my little stick man, okay, this side would be the side that is directly across from him. So that is my O, or my opposite side. By default, that makes 40 the adjacent side, okay? So once we've done that, now we need to figure out, based on the size that they gave me, which is 20 meters here and 40 meters here, which one of my trig ratios can I use that requires me to have opposite and adjacent? So I'm just going to write the SOHCAHTOA thing. Okay, so that we can see which function works best for what we have. So since we have opposite and adjacent, which one of my trig functions only uses O and A? Well, that's going to be my tangent function. Because notice that sine and cosine all require you to use hypotenuse, and they did not give me a number on my hypotenuse, okay? So let's set up our tangent function. So we would have tangent of x or theta. It doesn't matter which variable you use here because they mean the same thing. Equals, what does that ratio look like? What number would be on the top and which one would be on the bottom? Good. 20 is opposite, so that would be on the top. And 40 is adjacent, so that would be at the bottom. Now remember, when we learned how to set up our trig ratios, that we had to simplify this fraction that we have over here. So 20 over 40 simplifies to 1/2. So this is what I have. The tangent of x or theta equals 1/2. Now, in order for me to solve for the angle, which is theta or x, whichever variable you use, at this point, you have to take the inverse of tangent, because the goal is to get x by itself, just like we do when we're solving an equation. So what ends up happening is we do the tangent inverse on this side. That cancels the tangent, but we then have to do it on this side also. So that would give me the tangent inverse of 1/2. Okay, and that is going to be my answer here. So I'm going to erase what I put up here initially, so I can write this last step out very clearly so that you can understand what it looks like. So x, or theta, whichever variable you used, okay, equals the inverse of tangent and 1/2. So this part is what we're going to put into our calculator in order to get our answer. Now, the first time you do any of your tangent functions, you want to make sure that you have your calculator in degree mode. So notice here it says make sure your calculator is in degree mode. Alright, so in order to do that, you're going to hit the word mode on your calculator. And that is the second button at the top, right next to second. Okay, it has the word MOD on it. So hit that. And then on that list, the second row down, you have a choice between radian or degree. I need you to move your arrow using your arrows. I need you to highlight the word degree and press enter. So now degree in your calculator should be colored in, and it should look like this in your calculator. Okay, in order for you to get the correct answer, remember that the measurement of angles are measured in degrees, like 23 degrees. So we want our calculator to give us this answer in degrees. Okay, now we can go down and we can type this in our calculator. Okay, so once you've changed your mode, in order to get out of that screen, you can hit the second, which is your blue button, and mode again, and it will bring you back to a regular screen. Alright, now to get the inverse tangent function, you're going to have to follow these directions right here, and I made sure to include it on your notes so that you had a place to go to. So anytime I want to do the inverse, then I got to hit second, which is my blue button. And since we're trying to do the tangent inverse, we're going to hit tangent. And you should now have something that looks like this on your calculator. It has tangent to the -1. Alright, right next to that, there's a parenthesis. So we need to type in 1/2 in that parenthesis. And remember, the way that we type in fractions is we use division. So I'm going to put 1 divided by 2 and close the parenthesis. When you hit enter, it is going to give you your the measurement of your angle. And notice our directions tell us to round to the nearest 10th place. So how many places behind the decimal is the 10th place? 1 place behind the decimal. So that would be 26.6 if we round to 1 place behind the decimal. And that is it. That is my answer. Okay, so notice the only thing that's new here is once we set up our function, we're just going to end up doing the inverse of whatever our trig ratio was. Okay, and that is my answer. So theta, or x, depending on which variable you use, is 26.6. Alright, now let's set up example 2 so we can make sure that we're doing this the correct way. So the first thing we want to do is by using where the little man is standing, let's figure out which side is hypotenuse, what is the opposite side, and what is the adjacent side. So the side that would be opposite him would be this side, so that's O. And this is the hypotenuse, so that always gets the H. Okay, so we have O and H. So here I go. So, ka, toa. which one of my trig functions only uses an opposite and hypotenuse? Well, that would be sine. See, O and hypotenuse. So let's set up our function. We're going to have sine of x, because that's what they used here was x, equals, what does my ratio look like? What number should be on the top and what number should be on the bottom? Correct. Opposite would be 15, because that is my O. And hypotenuse is 50. And since h goes on the bottom, 50 would go on the bottom. Okay? Now we need to simplify this fraction. So in your calculator, 15 divided by 50, and then hit math and enter 2 times. That simplifies that fraction to 3 over 10. So remember, to get our answer, we do the inverse, okay? So x equals sine inverse of 3 over 10. And let's do second and sine. That gives me the inverse, and 3 divided by 10 in my calculator. Okay, so x equals, rounded to one place behind the decimal, 17.5. Because there was a 4 there, but there's a 5 behind the 4. That makes it go up to a 5. So that is the measurement of the angle theta here. Okay, so we're done with example 1 and 2. Let's go ahead and turn to the other side of our paper and continue. We have 3 examples back here. I just want to make sure I do enough so that you're comfortable doing this on your own, but it's really very easy. Alright, so notice this time, instead of saying that we're solving for x, they say that we're solving for theta. But that's the same thing, because x is an unknown variable in math, and theta is an unknown angle when we use trig functions. So remember, we're standing here where the unknown angle is. Please remember, when you look at your worksheets today, they're not going to have the little man standing there. So if there's a question mark there, then you make sure to draw your little stick man in so you know which angle you're looking at it from. So based on where the angle theta or x is, we're going to identify the sides that we have. So this side would be my opposite side, because it is directly across from my angle. And then of course this is my hypotenuse, because it is that diagonal side, or the side that is across from the right angle. And that leaves 9 to be my adjacent side. Okay, so looking at SOHCAHTOA, which one of my trig ratios over here allows me to use opposite and adjacent? Very good. That would be my tangent function, because it has an O and an A in it. And remember, the T is just for tangent. So we're going to do the tangent of theta, because they gave me theta this time and not x. That's the only difference. Okay, is opposite, the opposite side is 17.2 divided by adjacent, and the adjacent side is 9. Alright, so to find, to get theta by itself, just like we were solving an equation, remember we have to do the inverse or the opposite of tangent. So that's going to leave me with theta equals the tangent inverse of 17.2 divided by 9. And we are going to put this in the calculator to get our answer. Alright, so typing it in the calculator, remember, to get the inverse on your tangent, you have to hit the second button before you hit tangent. Alright, so second tangent, and then we type in our fraction, which is 17.2 divided by 9. Alright, rounded to the nearest degree this time. Look at our answers up here. It says round to the nearest degree. And that means that they want a whole number, no decimals. So if we round our answer to the nearest whole number, we would have 62 degrees. Okay? So that completes example number 3. Now I would like for you to try number 4 on your own. So Ms. Hall, if you would please pause the video and allow them to try this on their own, and then click play when everybody's ready. Okay, so once again, I hope that you actually try to work these problems by yourself first before, waiting for me to give you the answer. So here we go. Alright, so looking from his perspective, this would be the opposite side over here. So that makes this side adjacent because this is the hypotenuse and that is h. So, toa. I am looking for the side where my numbers are. So since there's a number on this side, I need the side for A. And since there's a number on this side, I need the side for H. So which one has an A and an H in it? That is going to be the cosine function. So the cosine of theta equals A adjacent, which is number 7, over hypotenuse, which is 23. So remember, to get theta by itself, we do the inverse of cosine and 7 divided by 23. So remember, to get the inverse, you have to hit second and then hit your cosine button. This is what we're typing in our calculator to get the answer so that we can see what the measurement of angle, the missing angle, is. So cosine inverse and 7 divided by 23. Once again, they say to round to the nearest degree, so that means we need a whole number. Please make sure that you pay attention to where to round to. That will make the difference between a right and a wrong answer on your CDA. So this one is 72 degrees. Alright, so I hope that this is getting easier and easier as we go. Once again, I would like for you to try number 5 on your own. This is our last example today. So please make sure that you're trying these so that when you get your worksheet, you won't have any problems. Alright, so once again, they're asking me to round to the nearest degree. So that means that I need a whole number. And remember, we're always standing at the place where the missing angle is. That's how you know where to draw your stick man. So the side that is across from him is going to be opposite. And remember, the diagonal, or the side that is across from your right angle, is always your hypotenuse. So I know that I'm using my sine function because sine uses opposite over hypotenuse. And those are the two sides that we're given here. So here we go. Sine of theta equals, O has to go on the top, so that is the opposite side, which is 200. And my hypotenuse is represented by this number, which is 400. Alright, so I can simplify that. 200 over 400 is 1/2. So the sine of theta is 1/2, and when we take the inverse, I will have the inverse of 1/2 will give me my answer. So remember, to get the inverse, you have to hit the second button first. So second and then sine. And then we want to do 1 divided by 2 because we use division for our fractions. Alright, so that gave me a whole number, and that gave me 30 degrees. Okay, so we've just concluded our next lesson, which is where we use our trig functions to solve for a missing angle. Notice that when we're solving for an angle, that is when we use inverses. So tomorrow's lesson we'll be solving for a missing side. We will continue this lesson, but I wanted to make it short and sweet because you guys had a quiz today, and so you guys have a good weekend. If it's Friday, if you're learning this on Monday, then we can get the week started off great. Remember, this is the last week of new things. After this week, we will be doing our review, and we will take our CDA next Wednesday and Thursday. So make sure that you're here, so you don't have to try to make this up after the break. That would be a lot of time to forget something, okay? You guys, please continue to be on your best behavior. Be an example for my freshman classes and show them what is expected and how you can still be responsible. So this can be a very good CDA for a lot of you. I hope that everything is working out. And if you have questions, please make sure you refer to my website, sylviaanderson.weebly.com, or that you're going to tutoring with Miss Anderson in Upper Wandorras, or Miss Brown. And remember, the schedules are on my door in case you forget what classroom to go to. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good day and have a good weekend.